I agree. I want to talk about Thiago Silva, who there was news that came out earlier on this week that he's potentially looking at extending his current deal, which I think ends this summer, for another year at Chelsea. Now, I have been very critical of Thiago Silva, and still will be, for the simple fact that I think he should not be being played as a week in, week out centre back at Chelsea. I think he should be the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, certain league games, especially this season. He should be kept back, maybe for the bigger games, actually, maybe for your Man Cities and your Uniteds and Liverpools. Bring him in for those. But what's your thoughts on Thiago Silva? Because I feel he's still obviously a really good centre-back on his day. We know that. But, you know, talking about a 40-year-old centre-back, not to be ageist, but a 40-year-old centre-back in the Premier League, playing at still one of the most good clubs in English football. Is it time? Is he going to be staying for another year to maybe take away an opportunity from a Wesley Fofana or from a Badia Shil or Dasazi? You know, if we do for somehow get into European football next season, there's obviously going to be a lot more football. But if we don't, and we're still playing one game a week, you know, is he taking away an opportunity for one of those centre backs that we brought in relatively recently, an opportunity away from them?
Yeah, so I think on Sunday he became the oldest outfield player to ever play for Chelsea, or was it in the Premier League as a whole? So it's clearly unheard of to have a player of his age still regularly featuring in the first team. That being said, I still think he's a quality player. He brings so much experience and leadership. Sure, he had a bit of a messy afternoon in Tyneside on Sunday, but I still think he's quality. But I also agree with what we've been saying for the last year or so. It's time we slowly phase him out of the team and we don't feature him as regularly as every single week and every single match day. And I think we have done that sometimes this campaign. There's times we played a Cole and Disasi, or I'm sure when Fofana is back, it will give us more options and now that Badiashile is back, it will give us more options in defence to be able to rotate him out more often. That being said, I think he's still kind of unsure about his future. I think he planned on retiring back in Brazil with his boyhood club, which I believe is Fluminense. I need to double check that. But also both his kids are in the Chelsea academy at the moment, and they seem to be doing quite well there. And he seems to love to watch them play, and it seems like Chelsea's part of his routine. He posts on Instagram a lot. He's at Cobham on weekends watching his kids play in the academy. So part of him might also want to stay and maybe accept more of a sporadic role, if it means that his kids can continue to live in the area and play at Chelsea. And I also saw something about potentially discussing a coaching job at Chelsea, which in retiring from professional football. So I think there's a lot of question marks about his future. I'm still very on the fence about giving him another year. I feel like every kind of Christmas we have the same discussion. Should we give him another contract?
But every year he gets older.
Every year he gets older, yeah. Slowly the signs of him kind of not performing to that level or there, but he's still performing at a very high level. I think maybe if we don't get Champions League next year, it means less game time as well, which would mean if Fofana stays fit, it'll mean less game time for him as well. So there's a lot of question marks, but I'm very 50-50 on this one. I love Silva. I think since watching Chelsea all my life, he's been one of my favourite players to watch. I just love his passion and his energy and his love for the club as well, which is not what we've seen recently at Chelsea. We've seen a lot of players that haven't really played for the badge, but he's one of the very few, I feel, in the last maybe 3 or 4 years that's really showed a lot of love and passion for the Chelsea badge, and that's what I love to see.
I don't want him to sign a new deal because and the reason I don't is because I want him to go out gracefully, and I mean that respectfully. Well, I want him to go out gracefully at the top as a top defender. I don't want to watch him as a, like we did against Newcastle, making those little small mistakes, because they suddenly build up, and then you'll see more and more of those mistakes coming from him. And I don't want people to remember that last season of Thiago Silva, where it's almost like a boxer. You don't want a boxer to go in the ring and get knocked out, and he's been one of the world best heavyweights of the world, for many years. You don't want him to see, go out gracefully at the top. And I think this would be a perfect time. It's a shame that he's not going away with a, if this is his last season, he's not going to go away with a trophy or something just to, icing on the cake. But I'd love him as a coaching role. I think, one of the points you made, he does love that London life. His kids are now in the academy as well. So I'd love him to be in the coaching capacity, because I think maybe not even for the first team, look at the development squad, you look at the under 18s, and, it'd be a perfect opportunity not to say he's not doing this, but to start his badges and maybe look at doing something along those lines. I just think we've got enough centre backs now, even without Trevor Chalobah being in the frame. Disasi, Colwell, Badiashile, we've got them there. So I just think, for me,
Humphreys as well is out on loan.
Yeah,
really well in pre-season.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got players that we now need to. If we're trying to do this whole, youthful, bring in the youngsters, the new project or whatever you want to call it, I can't see him being a part of that, because I think as much as he brings quality and he's going to be he goes down as world class. He has to. Mm-hmm. As much as he brings all of that, I think we now need to inject the new lease of players into that team and give them the opportunity. And they are going to make mistakes, and they are going to, we are going to wish we had Silva back in the team. But we have to remember he's 40 years of age. I'm nearly 40, and I know what it feels like with my knees when I walk up and down the stairs. So I can only imagine for someone who keeps their body in good nick in terms of Thiago Silva, it must still take its toll on you. We've seen him in like those ice things where I don't know what the actual term for them is, but those sort of recovery bags that they sort of sleep in, or they lie in for a couple of hours afterwards. So you can tell that the recuperation is obviously a lot more intense for someone like Thiago Silva. I just think coaching, for me, with the next role, gives someone else an opportunity in our team to go forward.
Yeah, what I will say though is, if we do get rid of Thiago Silva, I want us to bring in another experienced player.
Oh yeah.
And when I say experience, it has to be like over the age of 26, 27, who's played in the league, who's played across Europe. Because if we get rid of Thiago Silva, you're looking at maybe Raheem Sterling as your most experienced player in the team. And that for me is worrying, really, really worrying. Whereas all the other teams have had a player like a Bernardo Silva who's been there for 5-6 years. Arsenal even potentially have, maybe that's not the best example, but even Odegaard, I'd consider him experienced.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
4 years.
Yep.
Liverpool have the likes of Salah, they have Thiago Alcantara, have Van Dijk, exactly, Alisson even now. Yeah. And I think that's what we really lack right now, is experienced players who are also leaders in the team. And you take away Silva, and we don't have that anymore. And I gave you an example of Reece James isn't what we thought he'd be as the leader.
Yeah.
You're looking at maybe Sterling, Chilwell, Robert Sanchez, even, and they're not exactly the leaders you want to turn to. So yeah, I think we need to bring in some experienced players. Should we get rid of Silva?
Yeah, it's a good debate. It's a good conversation. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on the social accounts as well, what you think about Thiago Silva. Now,